Welcome to the Sales Squared Podcast, your destination for leveling up in sales, marketing, and business development.
Dollar bill, y'all.
Join us to hear real entrepreneurs with real experiences, engaging with real experts from the world of sales, business, and entrepreneurship. And now for another Sales Squared Value Bomb.
Hello, and welcome
hello
to another episode of the Sales Squared Podcast. And today we're going to talk all about LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is one of the most popular social networks in the world, and it's obviously used for professional networking. So the context of talking about LinkedIn today is as a marketing tool. So myself and Scott have got a lot of experience on LinkedIn. We've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And basically, we're going to talk all about the strengths of LinkedIn. What are some of the weaknesses? What are some of the opportunities? And what are some of the threats? So kind of a SWOT analysis conversation, I suppose, on LinkedIn and how it can be used. So Scott, what's your experience on LinkedIn?
I think for a little bit of background for everyone out there, me and you have been plowing LinkedIn for years now. So in terms of, just the sheer opportunity as a platform is huge, right? You got over 500 million total users.
590.
590? Wow. Around 40 million students and 87 million millennials. So when you start to kind of dissect just the platform in terms of the demographics, it's pretty interesting and unique. So it's obviously the biggest platform in the world, and probably one of the first strengths for me was just connecting with people. I'm a natural connector myself, I think, anyway, and so are you. But having the ability to reach out to pretty much anyone you want in any business, in any industry, is fascinating. It's really fascinating because 20 years ago, we wouldn't be able to have that opportunity right now. And, just from a click and a nicely crafted message, you can pretty much spark a conversation with anyone. So opportunity everywhere.
Yeah, no doubt. And just to preface that, it's the largest professional network on the world. Obviously, we've got Facebook and things like Instagram, which have, 2 billion users or something on Facebook and 1 billion, I think, on Instagram. But it's a professional network, means the reason people are on there is to generally engage with like-minded professionals and even maybe find people to do business with. So that's another huge benefit, right? There's a huge user base, as we said, 590 million users. And the really great thing about that is you can actually be ultra targeted on LinkedIn, right? So you can basically find exactly who you want to find if you do the right search parameters. And there are some people who will say, I only go on LinkedIn to connect with people I know, or I only want to speak with people I know. And fair enough. It's a professional network, and if you decide that you want to use it that way, then fine. But at least in my experience, the majority of people are more than open to creating new relationships. And look, it's the 21st century, so if we can find people to connect with online, and I know that several of my friends, my colleagues, and people that I do business with, I've met them on LinkedIn. And it all started with that LinkedIn connection, that LinkedIn conversation. So the key with that is the ability to actually find, if let's say you're a business coach and you want to find a list of all the owners of plumbing companies in, I don't know, Denver, Colorado, for example, and let's say that you want them to have a minimum of 50 employees and a maximum of 200 employees, and you want them to have been in their role for at least 2 years, you can literally go and find those people, and it's endless, the possibilities of actual demographic or people, I suppose, or groups of people that you can find on LinkedIn. So I think that's another benefit. If you're looking at it from a marketing perspective, the segmentation is really, really powerful. Just as powerful as something like Facebook or something like Instagram, the benefit being that you can actually make a personal interaction. So that's another strength.
Yeah, I completely agree there. And I think a question that most business owners, even sales professionals, anyone that uses LinkedIn is, what's the opportunity cost of not using LinkedIn? And I think that's really, really important because, as you said, today's day and age, there's so much information. There are so many avenues, so many channels to explore as a salesperson and a business owner. And LinkedIn has just become one of those formidable kind of, platforms that everybody's using. So why not use it, guys? It's awesome.
No, agreed. And I think another strength, and we will get into some weaknesses and some and some threats of LinkedIn at some point. But another strength is that you can do extensive research on people. So let's say that you identify that there's a list of 50 people that you want to do business with, that you want to use LinkedIn as a tool to find them and do business with them. You can actually find them, you can research their profiles, you can research their businesses, you can have a look at what they've done in the past, their history, and you can kind of paint that picture of them in your own mind and in your own research. And then when you do reach out to them, when you do have a conversation, you have all of these reference points that you can then mention in the conversation to show that you have done your homework, and it's a great tool to be able to do that. And I guess on the segue to that is that used in the right way, you can, and we've experienced this, you can consistently generate conversations with your target market on LinkedIn, and you can consistently generate sales. And we know that from experience, and we know that because we've seen it. We also know that you can go on LinkedIn and have 0 results. So let's segue into the weaknesses.
Yeah.
What are some of the weaknesses of LinkedIn?
You know, as the platform's become a lot more popular and the user base has increased, obviously there's going to be a lot of competition, right? There are so many, companies out on LinkedIn, offering to do certain services. Certain businesses are increasingly adapting this strategy as part of their marketing arsenal, I guess. So I think the competitiveness is a real weakness, I guess, but it can also be seen as a strength. If you're having so many businesses that are competing, the quality has to raise.
True.
And, once the quality raises, the only winner at the end of the day is the people buying the services. So it's a bit of a match, I guess.
That's a really good way to look at it. And look, there's a lot of competition on LinkedIn. More and more people are becoming savvy to the fact that it is a great way to find your target market. It is a great way to engage in conversation. And yes, it's becoming very competitive out there. For every service, for every business, there's probably 10, 20, 30 marketers messaging the person you want to message at any one time. So that is a weakness, and for some that will destroy them on LinkedIn or destroy their strategy. The opportunity that we will get into a little bit later is that if you can actually differentiate yourself, if you can actually craft a really, really compelling message, and if you can resonate with that person, speak to them in their language, then you are going to stand head and shoulders above your competition and be successful. But we'll move on to that in a bit. But another weakness, I think, for LinkedIn is that if you are doing an outbound strategy, you should be aware that maybe 1 in every 200, 1 in every 300 people, it may be more if you have a weak message, but some people are going to get annoyed with you. This is human nature, right? So running LinkedIn campaigns, we've seen in the past that for every 10 positive responses, for every 30, 40 positive responses, there's going to be 1 negative. And that may be someone who's having a bad day, who has seen your message and thought, right, I'm gonna show this person, I'm gonna tell them what I think about their marketing strategy. Or maybe I have sales expert down on my LinkedIn profile, and I'm gonna show this person what good sales is. But you're gonna get people who are gonna get annoyed with you. That's part and parcel of it. But please, if you're running a strategy or if someone's running a strategy for you, don't take that to heart. It's just people, generally in our experience, people having a bad day, or people who do not like networking, people who do not like communicating, and they're the kind of people who you don't want to do business with. So it's a great way of them telling you, I'm not a prospect, and they certainly aren't the kind of person that you want to work with if they're going to send a passive-aggressive message to you on LinkedIn in response to your offer to provide value to them.
So true. And I think, nicely to link in with that, and we could have a separate conversation about this, but, what effect has the bots, the automation, the constant programs that are being run through LinkedIn, and really, I think, in my opinion, devaluing the network.
Yeah.
You might think back to 5 years ago where those kind of things weren't as prevalent, but increasingly it's becoming a thing. Automation is huge in business right now.
Yeah, for sure.
But I stress this as someone who has substantial LinkedIn experience. Just be respectful, be careful with what you're saying. But from the experience that you do increasingly have from LinkedIn, you'll know a kind of message that's got a personal outreach, that's a little bit more crafted with care, as opposed to something that's just shot out on the boilerplate. But it's super, super interesting, some of the responses. I guess that is a weakness, right?
For sure, and just another note on those bots. I think we had a conversation with a guy the other day who was using this LinkedIn software service, and he was paying like £30 a month to get X amount of leads, but it got shut down after like a month. So LinkedIn do shut these software packages down, and they may actually ban your profile from ever using LinkedIn again, or put you on a blacklist. So you can actually use the platform because you disobeyed, I suppose, the rules of using this software to spam people, I suppose. And you can't be human in a bot interaction. It's just a copy and pasted kind of boilerplate message out to I don't know, 1,000 people. You might get one lead, but you're going to burn 999. So that's I guess it is a weakness, and it's something to be wary of, at least on LinkedIn. For me, I think one of the main weaknesses is that, or maybe this comes in as a threat actually, but it's LinkedIn might not be there forever. It's a social media platform, right? So we've seen them come and go. I remember MySpace was there, which used to be like the old Facebook, and that went. When I was a kid, I used to go on something called Bebo.
Bebo.
That came and went, and
there's always video of the day thing. Do you remember you used to select like a video you had in your little box and it changes around?
I don't remember that, man. But my point is that there's so many of these social media platforms that come and go. At the minute, it seems like these ones are here to stay that we have at the minute. But in 3 years, in 5 years, you don't know what's going to happen. So the network that you build on LinkedIn might not be there forever, which is why it's really, really important to actually harvest that network, if that makes sense, and build relationships with these people so that they're strong and they're not just based on a simple LinkedIn connection. I guess an opportunity for that is take advantage of it when you can. Don't miss the boat. There is a great opportunity on LinkedIn to find the right people for your business. So if you can actually take advantage of that right now, then you're not going to be kicking yourself in 3 years when it's gone and there's no good way to actually find who you want to find online.
Yeah, of course. And I think networks are everything these days, right? So if you're able to build a digital network that's full of rich contacts that offer real value, not just to yourself as a business, but to your wider community. You're not just serving yourself through LinkedIn. You have a band of clients and an extended network to reach out to. And I think a great opportunity of LinkedIn is referrals. Being able to connect people with like-minded people. Being able to think, this client I know could be a perfect match for this client, and making that connection so effortlessly. And I guess, it builds into brand value as well, being able to build a perception of yourself. And we know how important that is in sales, right? The way that you represent yourself, the way that you communicate yourself to a wider audience. So yeah, LinkedIn is super, super cool. I think, with the content, with the conversational aspect, you can create a very, very good strategy for whatever your needs are, I guess, in business.
Absolutely. So let's bounce some more opportunities. So one real great opportunity that I found on LinkedIn is that it's a great chance to actually test out different segments that you think you can target with different messages, different approaches, and kind of A/B test different strategies to find your product to market fit. So let's say that you are a business consultant and you specialize in a variety of areas. Why not target people specifically for, let's say, operational help, maybe for organizational development, maybe for marketing. Let's say you're a specialist, a jack of all trades, kind of seasoned business consultant, 20, 30 years experience, and you have this experience in all these different fields. Why not test out different things that you have expertise into the market and find what's getting the best response? It might be that people really, really want help with organizational development, and you have, for every 10 messages you send out, 2 people come back to you and say, hey, this is exactly what I need right now. It might be that when you do the same for marketing, you get only 1 in every 100 coming back. So what makes more sense, to go for the market that's responding really well or the market that's not? And the only way you can find that stuff out is by testing and measuring. Yeah,
and data drives growth, and we know that from so many kind of businesses. And data drives growth. Let's just talk about that for a minute. What LinkedIn offers isn't just a business development strategy, it offers a market research strategy too. So you think about some elements of your business, if you offer coaching, maybe consulting, speaking engagements, program development, whatever you offer, if you're able to find a segment of your business that appeals the most to that crowd of people, it makes sense to just scale that, right? It's focus on what works for you and don't focus on the rest. It kind of falls into the 80-20 rule, I guess, as well. Focus on the top 20% of your business and, kind of leave 80% of it on the table. But very, very interesting. And creativity is huge. The ability to do what you want on LinkedIn, create your own personal influence, create a personal brand, get out there with the stuff that people need to be seeing. And I think the more consistent you are, the more successful you're going to be.
So what do you think, Scott, some of the ways to stand out from the crowd on LinkedIn are? Stand out from the competition?
It's a good question. And it's a question I get asked a lot, I guess. And I think one of the first things we have to think about is the outreach. Even take a step back. What's the goal that you want to achieve here? Is it to draw a conversation up with someone of particular interest? Is it to develop a brand and put amazing videos, content, infographics out there? So I think from my perspective, one of the first things you have to do is find a goal. What are you using LinkedIn for? Get clear on what you're actually going to use it for, and then develop something around that. And I guess that's where, creativity, the brand perception, everything that you want to be happens there. So what are your thoughts on that?
I completely agree. And I think something really, really important is to understand sales, understand marketing before trying to execute on a LinkedIn strategy. And definitely do not go with a marketing team if you go down that route who do not understand sales psychology or marketing psychology, because what they're going to do is, yes, they may find the right people, yes, they may add them into your network, yes, they may engage with them, but if the actual copy of what they're saying, if they're not presenting the challenges that they have in the correct way, if they're not presenting the solutions that you have in the correct way, if they're not providing a compelling call to action to actually get to the next stage of that sales process, then you're going to get nowhere. You're actually going to burn prospects. So if you do decide to go with a marketing company to help you with your LinkedIn, then make sure that you can see some of their work, see some of their copy. The last thing you want is people just sending out these boilerplate messages that are not qualifying prospects. Yeah. So another really important thing to do is to actually qualify prospects when you're engaging with them on LinkedIn. Feel them out, see if they'd be a good fit for you based on their responses. But also you can do that within your actual message. So one opportunity is to actually stand out from the competition, because a lot of marketers on LinkedIn don't understand this, is that you need to be presenting a real solution to a real challenge to the right people, and then combining that with a really, really solid call to action, so you can actually get them onto the phone or get them into a meeting or whatever the next step of that process is, where you can continue the conversation.
Yeah.
So it's really, really important.
It's important, and I think you make a really, really good point about who's operating the accounts. You guys out there, think about this to yourself right now. You're in a business, you're really looking to develop some new conversations for your pipeline. Would you rather have someone who has zero experience in dialogue, communication, collaboration, or would you prefer someone that knows how to move a conversation from point A to point B? Someone who knows the cycle, someone who knows how to get stuff done. And I think, if you are looking at different marketing partners for that, what Cameron's just said there, look for someone who's been through it, done it, and has a passion for it. And I think that's one of the biggest assets you can find in a marketing partner.
Absolutely. And it's from quality conversations, right? If you're speaking to someone who you think could help you out with this, then have a conversation with them, gather their experience, but more importantly, if they sound like they're someone who really knows what they're talking about, but who can also back that up with evidence in terms of maybe results they've achieved or just examples of the work that they do, then you're going to be in a much better footing. So kind of things to look out for. Sounds familiar, right, Scott?
It does, absolutely.
No, and full disclosure, this is, we do this kind of work, but no matter who you go with, then just make sure that you trust them to do a good job. Make sure they understand sales, make sure they understand marketing, make sure they're good writers and they understand how to construct that copy to generate results, right?
Yeah, I think, I'm all for conversations, right? If you are looking for a partner in marketing to do this kind of work, go and talk to 50 companies and go and talk to the 50 people on the end of the phone, because what you'll understand is, and what will resonate with you the best is the people who are good at sales are the ones that will make that first impression. And if you are looking to, again, develop some sort of program, then you want solid sales professionals behind you. So get out there, go and talk to everyone, ask them a load of questions, and the people who will serve you the best are the ones who will know the answers from experience.
And they're going to provide you with the biggest opportunity on LinkedIn, which is consistent conversations leading to consistent sales. It can be done, and it can be done very, very well, and it can have a massive impact on your business.
Huge.
So that's pretty much the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities that we've covered so far. What about threats, Scott? What do you think some of the threats on LinkedIn are?
I think, one of the biggest threats potentially, I guess, is the limitations, right? So, we talk about that software being used and, it got banned. You won't drop any names, but it's a real threat. But the even bigger threat of that is, LinkedIn was kind of created with this mindset of connecting people no matter where they are. So are we actually going against that by limiting, potentially how many people you could add to your network every day? For a business development professional, you want to be talking to as many people as possible. So potentially, and I mean, this is up for argument as well, I guess, but is that actually hindering the overall opportunities that LinkedIn offers? I think it's quite an interesting...
Do you mean in terms of LinkedIn's capabilities? I know we've heard stories in the past of people going a bit too heavy on their LinkedIn strategy and you can get banned, right? So if you, for example, if you sit there and send out 1,000 message or 1,000 connection requests a day to people in your target market or people you think you could help serve, LinkedIn will actually ban you.
Yeah.
Or stop you from being able to add people. So do you mean in terms of people being able to just do that?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. But I guess, the people that will sit behind a computer and do that are pretty hardcore salespeople. But, what I mentioned earlier is about having respect and being careful. And that's something a lot of professionals will probably learn over time is, there's no need to go, completely crazy on it, because if you have that mindset of serving people on a meaningful level and you have great copy to accompany that, there's no need to go out and hit 1,000 people a day. That's
the thing. If you can actually get your conversion rate to a point where consistently with your message that you're going to be getting a good response rate and a good amount of people from the number of messages that you send out to the number of people saying, I'd love to speak with you about your business. It sounds great. How can you solve my challenges? Then there's no need to add 1,000 people a day to your network. You can get away with doing a lot less because your conversion rate will be higher. So quality over quantity.
Yeah,
I suppose.
Completely agree. What other threats do you think are on your kind of mind?
I think a massive threat is the competitiveness and the fact that your competitors may get there first. If you are selling a service and using LinkedIn as a tool to do that, you can bet with pretty much 100% confidence that there will be competitors on there who are also targeting the same people, the same message. So that's why it's so important, coming back to this sales psychology, I suppose, of a LinkedIn message and a way to actually interact with people and compel them to taking the next step in your sales process. Really, really important that you nail that down, because otherwise your competition may have a slightly better approach and they may get there first. So important to remember, I think, go into a LinkedIn campaign with your strategy nailed down, get that stuff sorted before you even engage with one person, and you should be in a good place.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I just had a thought, it kind of links nicely back to our podcast last week where, you have to invest in yourself mentally as well as monetarily, I guess, in having that right mindset and having that right demeanor to deal with, potentially hundreds of conversations. So big investments in yourself, big investments, especially if you're a salesperson, that's the first thing you should be invested in is yourself. You invest in yourself to become better. And when you're using LinkedIn, where there is so much competition, you're the one that's going to stand out because you've invested in yourself. So I think that rigs really, really nicely.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. So anything else, Scott? I think I'm all tapped out in terms of LinkedIn.
Yeah,
what about you?
Pretty tapped out as well. Got my hand on the rope. But I think this was a really, really good conversation. And I hope it's opened up a lot of people's minds as well. So, there might be some people out there that are thinking, I want to use LinkedIn, but I don't exactly know how. Don't have the time, don't have the resources, etc. Just have a conversation with someone. You never know what's going to happen unless you do have a conversation. That's what I say. But yeah, I think this was a really, really good one, and I hope everyone enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Until next time, guys, keep squaring your sales,
Yeah.
and we will talk to you soon.
Adios.